Yes, well, he was diagnosed 4 years ago when he was 64. And he's very good about going to the doctors, but he's not good about following his numbers for blood pressure and cholesterol and things like that. So I always check everything. And I noticed probably in his early 60s that his PSA level seemed to be elevated. Well, it had gone up. I didn't know what an elevated number was because I wasn't up on those numbers at the time.
Yeah.
And so the next year when he went to the doctors, he mentioned something to the doctor because of me, and he said no, there were no red alarms. And probably like within 2 years that number had then risen again, and it was at its highest point that he ever got it to, which was a 5.2. And still they weren't all that concerned, but they said it would be good just to go talk to a urologist. So when we did, that was Dr. Nillens that we saw, and he still said that there wasn't anything to be overly concerned about because of his age, and sometimes the PSA levels can rise due to age. And so he said we could do a wait and a watch. But Dennis said what else was available, and he said a biopsy. So he said fine. And as we were leaving, he says, 3 out of 4 biopsies come back benign. So he wasn't expecting it to be anything at all. But then it was cancer. So they indicated to us like that we caught it fairly soon because the numbers weren't very high. And then we just got right into it fast and furious, and then that's when we came to see you, and then you gave us a book, and Dr. Nellens gave us a book, and we just did a lot of research, talked a lot with you, and then he had to do other testing, and that's when, his Gleason score was a 6. We started working with the two of you, and you filled us with a lot of knowledge, answered all of our questions, gave us books to read, told us about the various procedures that are out there, which would be the radical surgery, which would be radiation, either external beam or the seed implantation. There's a couple others, but after reviewing all of them, and because of his PSA levels and his Gleason score, it was advised that, Dennis and I preferred the radiation, the seed implants, as the best procedure because it is the least invasive, and as far as complications down the road, those seem to be the least with this type of a procedure. And he was very lucky because his cancer was discovered so early, and we were told it was low grade and slow growing, that we really had a lot of options. Where I know from what I've read and what I've heard from other people, that sometimes if it's, if it progresses, the cancer, you don't have a lot of options. And so it was nice to know sort of that the ball was in our court for that point. So we went ahead and like 6 weeks after the diagnosis, we were able to have the procedure, which we greatly appreciated. That I know that both you and Dr. Nellens worked us into your schedule rather than make us wait. And because once we knew it was cancer, we just wanted to go ahead and deal with it and put it in the past. Well, we were very well advised as to what was going to happen. He answered all of our questions. And then we did read the books that we were given. And so, well, leading up to the procedure, there really isn't much that you do beforehand that I can recall. And then the day of, very simple, it's an outpatient procedure. The day of the procedure really went very smooth. And I will say, up until this point, well, throughout all of this, I was way more apprehensive than Dennis about everything that was going to happen. And that really amazed me because he typically is not a good sick person, but we're talking about simple things like colds. He acts like he's dying. But this was the first real serious thing that we ever had to deal with, and he was amazing. And I was the one that was very frightened and scared because it's cancer, and that word, I think, scares everybody. And lots of times cancer can be a death sentence. And this was new. We had never known anybody that had personally experienced prostate cancer. So we had a lot of questions. And I can remember always thinking, because my mother dealt with a variety of cancers and she ended up dying from lung cancer. I remember just thinking, oh dear God, I hope we don't ever get cancer. And I thought for him, please don't let it be prostate cancer. Let us have another kind of cancer. Because I thought, and he thought the same thing, that with prostate cancer, like parts of your life would end. We thought that our sex life would be over. He thought that he might be reduced to being incontinent for the rest of his life. And those are things that you kind of hear associated with prostate cancer, but until you actually deal with it and then learn about it, you learn that it isn't necessarily true. So we had a lot of those questions, and Dr. Nellens and you, Dr. Grimm, were great in answering them and really guided us. I think that a lot of people that get prostate cancer, it tends to be an older man's cancer. And Dennis was 64 at the time he was diagnosed, which is a little bit on the young side, not terribly young, but still. So I kind of think maybe you as doctors don't deal with a lot of people that are maybe all that concerned about their sex lives, but I think you felt like you had a couple of live wires with us. And it really calmed us to know that that wouldn't have to end. And it hasn't, which is great. There have been, just some healing process and things that we went through there. But going back to the actual day of the procedure, we went to the center and he was prepped and had the procedure, which 45 minutes to an hour, and then he was back and just made sure that he was fine. And we were gone from the house maybe a total of 6 hours, and said, go home, told him to take a nap, take it easy, and he could resume normal activities within a couple of days. Well, I was emotionally drained, and I was so happy that it was behind us that he went home and got on his computer, and I went and took a nap because I thought somebody should follow doctor's orders. So he did really, really well. And within 2 weeks, we had a golfing trip planned with friends, and we still went and did it. And outside of him having to urinate quite frequently, he did not have, he could not hold it. When he felt the urge, he really had to go. But he said it didn't create any problems because he was golfing, and guys like to pee in the bushes anyway, so nobody noticed anything. And we kept this a secret from a lot of people. We just told our children and our close family. But he wanted to just wait and see how things were going. And now he's been so successful. It's been 4 years. The normal problems you have with urination, you deal with that. There is some pain associated with that, but there again, you, Dr. Grimm, explained everything to us, what to expect, and pretty much it went just like what we were told to expect. And sexually, just a kind of a few hiccups, but nothing that we weren't aware of, that you made us aware of. And now, after 4 years, everything is like it was before. Presently, he has no problems with incontinence, and I would say it was maybe only the first year, if that long. Initially, right off the bat, right after the procedure, the problems he had, which is common, which we were advised would happen, the burning sensation when you urinate, that passes rather quickly. And then it just takes a matter of months, from what I can remember, before you're like in control again, where you can wait, you can hold it until you can find a restroom. Been a bad thing at all. Everything that I associated with prostate cancer and how awful it could be, it really hasn't been. And it's a cancer that's very curable, especially if detected early. But that's true with all cancers. You always hear that warning, early detection is the cure, but especially so with prostate cancer. And then there's so many different options. And then that's just something you really need to sit and talk with your doctor, and husbands and wives need to just discuss all the different options, what's available, and then hopefully you make the right choice. But I know for us, the seed implantation, I would sing the praises of that to everybody. It's just, it hasn't been, it was like nothing really to go through the whole thing. I mean, we were dealing with cancer, as serious as that is, and really it was just a half a day to deal with it.